Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 1 of the Effie restoration. Those of you that have been with me some time will have already seen a couple of videos on the restoration of Effie. Back at the beginning of the process, I uploaded a couple of videos and some of the things I said in those videos was factually incorrect, so I was asked to remove the videos. I have done so, and I've also gone away and learnt the facts. So this is the re-engagement of that process. In this process, I am also collaborating with the Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway, the owners of this locomotive. I am doing weekly update videos for their YouTube channel, and I am linked as a collaborator on those. And these videos are also going to be linked to the Cleethorpes YouTube channel. Also moving forward with this project, I'm going into it a little bit more in depth. I'm going to be covering a bit of the history, utilising some literature that's already out there. There's the book by Mark Smithers, Sir Arthur Hayward and the 15-inch gauge railway, and also James Watfield's book with regards to the railways of Sir Arthur Percival Hayward. I am going to do a video on visiting the locality of where the original railway was. I've got a little bit of footage from me visiting Cleethorpes to go see the railway and meet the guys. And yeah, just hopefully create some good content. That's the plan. So what we're going to go through now is we're going to go into the breakdown. Then we're going to go into, we're going to go the walk round, then the breakdown, and then a little bit of a visit to Cleethorpes. So enjoy the video. So the start of the project was Simon going over to Cleethorpes and recovering the loco back to the workshops in Liversedge. So the boiler work has already been started, the boiler had been removed, the tubes have been removed, and all the non-destructive testing carried out on the boiler. The boiler inspector has given a list of recommendations. It is currently away at our boilersmiths getting the work carried out. With regards to the rest of the locomotive, it is down to the steam workshop to get it back into fully working condition. Now it's looking a bit dirty and rusty at the moment. It's been a back corner project for quite some time at Cleethorpes. It's one of those where they've tried to do work on it as and when they have time, but it's not been a massive importance. Down to the partnership we have with Cleethorpes, the owners of Cleethorpes have a couple of engines on long-term loan to Highly Miniature Railway. Simon purchased that railway about 5 years ago now, and when he bought it there was no running stock, so Cleethorpes have lent us a couple of engines which have been absolute stalwarts at that railway to get that up and running. And another business that has gone from strength to strength. They approached us to assist in getting this engine back into A1 grade top running condition, and that is where this project begins. And just me having a look around and see what I'm in for. Now the engine has been partially disassembled. The top end is loosely reassembled, so running boards upwards has all been taken off and put back on purely for transport. The bottom end, left hand valve gear on the locomotive at present is mostly missing. It's in a box, and unfortunately I think moving the locomotive without that valve gear attached has caused the eccentrics to be clobbered and bent the rods on there. So that's one of the jobs I need to carry out. Bottom of the firebox here has also been cut away to expose the valve chests. That is something else that's going to have to be restored. And then I've also got to find the oil pots that live on the running board just there. But that's all coming up. So this modern iteration of the Sir Arthur Hayward Effie is getting taken apart. The boiler is off to our boilersmith. It's getting new tubes. The original had 23 brass tubes. This one has got 59 steel tubes, so a much bigger thermal exchange going on in this boiler, but more about that when I do get the boiler back. Then it comes into taking apart the rest of the locomotive. Now this locomotive, it was built in 1999 for its first owner, David Humphreys. Now David Humphreys fell in love with Sir Arthur Hayward in the 70s, and it was possible for him to bring his dream to life through Great Northern Steam to build this replica of Effie. The original engine built in 1875, so yeah, 120 years between the original and this one. Now, there's not a lot of historical information on Effie, apart from it ran for about 6 years after it was first manufactured, and then kind of disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to it. It was not part of the estate when the estate got sold in the early 1919, I think it was. Yeah, so yeah, prior to 1920, this locomotive didn't exist anymore. So reckon it's scrapped sort of like probably the late 1880s, 1890s. The other locomotives out of Sir Arthur Hayward's collection, they pretty much all disappeared as well. So Ella was scrapped in 1930. Katie was scrapped in 1926, and then the two sister engines, Sheila and Ursula, was scrapped in 1942. The only existing locomotive that was built by Sir Arthur Hayward is Muriel, albeit having been cannibalised and turned into River Ur back in 1927. So River Ur is currently the oldest working steam locomotive in the world. It is still doing its job up at the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, hauling trains all the time. So it's like 100 years old since it was rebuilt, making it sort of like 150-year-old from its original build, which is absolutely brilliant. So there is still historical information on how Sir Arthur Hayward built locomotives. This one has been built from photographs in the book published by Mark Smithers back in 1995, and using the drawings created for that same book. So some engineering liberties have been taken, so things have been made quite possibly not the way that Sir Arthur Hayward would have made them. I know one really obvious fact is the slide bars were square section mounted in a diamond formation, whereas these are on this iteration of Effie, they are mounted flat. On the original they were mounted on edge, which I've never seen on another locomotive since, so whether it worked or not is another question. The other obvious difference was the original engine had a single wooden brake block. This has got twin wooden brake blocks, a little bit of a tongue twister, acting across the rear wheel set. So yeah, the original didn't have a lot of braking force. This one has got double the braking force of the original, but also much like the original, a tender was later added to give it a further braking advantage to stop the locomotive. So now I'm taking off the couplings on the locomotive here. These are big castings, and on the original they have also got a flapper plate on the top of those castings, which is not present on this model. They have got a bracket underslung for a standard bar and pin coupling. So I'm undecided yet as to whether or not I'm going to try and recreate the flapper plate off the top of these couplings. There's a matching pair also on the tender, so it would be quite a lot of work to create them, but it probably keep it a little bit more accurate and looking like the real thing. So whilst disassembling this locomotive, I'm having to make some decisions. Like this way shaft, for instance, I'm having to cut it out because the lifting links have been welded to it, so it was the only way to get this removed, and I was able to knock out what was left over. All that will get replaced. Then it's just back on with the disassembly, taking apart the drain cocks. Now the actual actuator for the drain cocks, so the push rod and the lever in the cab, that is all going to get reworked, because the lever in the cab, it was very, very thin sheet metal and it was bent over and it was not really in keeping with the locomotive, so that is going to get reassessed during the rebuild. I'm going to figure out a new bracket to hold things and replace all the pipework. Then it is down to me taking apart the rest of the engine. So the cylinders coming off, the valve chests are coming off, slide bars are coming off, crossheads coming off, and this is a reverse jigsaw puzzle. Don't know how it went together, so I'm having to figure out how to take it apart. and it's a case of taking off one piece at a time, seeing what moves. And it is a really tight package here, because it's got inside valve gear. That inside valve gear is transmitted through the frames, and the rocker, which leads to a buckle on the back of the valve slide. It's not something I've dealt with before, so taking it apart, it is a new experience to me, so just having to learn as I go, pretty much like everything else. So whilst you get to enjoy me continuing to disassemble Effie, I will go through a little bit more of its history. So its first owner was David Jeffries, who then put it up for sale at the back end of 2002. In 2003, it was bought by a gentleman by the name of Paul Walkinshaw. The locomotive was then placed on long-term loan to the Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway. In 2021, Paul generously gifted this locomotive to the Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway. Now, Paul was a volunteer at Cleethorpes. He was also a volunteer, I believe, at the Lincolnshire Coast Light Railway. So he was a well-known character within the steam environment. And yes, he gifted this locomotive to Cleethorpes, and sadly, very shortly after, he passed away. So since 2021, this locomotive has been owned by Cleethorpes. I think pretty much as soon as Cleethorpes took ownership of it, it hasn't really been used. It's overhaul started, and sadly it got pushed further and further back in the queue until it got brought to the steam workshop for me to work my magic on it. And that's where we are today, really. I've done quite a lot of research with regards to Effie. I've bought 2 books with regards to Effie. So I've got the Mark Smithers book and the James Waterfield book. Now, James has also rebuilt himself a version of Effie, and he finished building his Effie replica in 2007 with a few subtle differences. One of which I really like, which is the backhead presentation. So the door to the firebox is a casting on James's version. On this one, it's all made out of flat plate. Now, there's no historical photographs of the backhead of Effie, but judging from later engines that were created by Sir Arthur Hayward, I would like to be able to draw on the later versions, as it were. So I will be looking at hopefully getting hold of a casting or even a pattern to create the door that this engine deserves, and that hopefully will come to fruition. After I released these videos earlier this year, I was contacted by a gentleman by the name of Mike Decker. Now, Mike, he drew the Effie drawings that are in James Waterfield's book. Mike contacted me. He sent me copies of those drawings, and he's allowing me to use those drawings within my process and also within my YouTube videos. All I've got to do is give a big shout out to him. So thank you very much, Mike. Another thing I spotted about 2 weeks ago is Mike had gone on to the Minimal Gauge Railways Facebook page. He has announced he intends to offer a collection of his Hayward drawings for sale, and I believe there's 75 drawings in that collection, and all he wants is $100 shipped. He'll load it all onto a memory stick and send it out. So I will hopefully get some more details of that, get some contact information. If anyone is interested, please leave a comment below. And a quick little bit of maths. $100 is 75 of our English pounds. So you're looking at £1 a drawing, which is absolutely fantastic. Even if you only use one of those drawings and you're creating something, £75 for one drawing, I don't think it's too bad. This chap has done a lot of work, and you get a whole trove of information out of all of those. So that sounds like it'll be a very worthwhile investment. So now we are coming towards the very end of the disassembly of Effie, for this phase at least, and it is down to me taking the wheel sets out. Now, as I was unbolting the rear set of wheel sets, I've spotted that the valve eccentrics are slightly misaligned. Having worked on a few different locomotives, I can kind of spot now when valve timing's off at the eccentrics. Now, there's no information there as to what the angle should be, so I'm going to have to try and figure that out. So they're all going to need dismantling, and then once I actually manage to get the wheel sets out of the frames, which takes a little bit of wiggling, I've got it on my lifting frame, but trying to find that centre of balance on this frame and getting the wheel sets to drop out, it is a little bit awkward. But once I've got the wheel sets out, I can then detach the pipework that is the lubrication system to the valve boxes. But I also noticed that there's quite a lot of play within the bearings of the axle boxes, so the axle boxes are going to need rebuilding. And yeah, it's just a typical scenario really. And all tired engines, they require work, and in the disassembly process throughout this, I'm able to spot where the wear is. So yeah, I'm constantly checking as I'm going through, finding out what looks like it's tired, what potentially I'm going to have to replace, and then I throw my frames up onto the rotisserie. So this is pretty much the end of the disassembly phase, and before I finish, I give the floor a good sweep. I police any loose nuts and bolts off the floor and make sure I am trying to keep hold of everything that comes off this locomotive. So moments ago I filmed the perfect outro. I then plugged it into my computer and realised I'd forgot to plug the bloody mic in. So note to self, plug the mic in before you start recording. Now I've since recorded this outro 3 or 4 times. I recorded the intro 26 times. It's taken a lot of work to get this video put together. I wanted to make this the best job I could do, and I have settled on good enough. It's not going to be perfect. I am not going to be 100% factually correct. If I've got anything wrong, please tell me. Leave it down in the comment section below. If you've got any questions, stick it down in the comment section below. I want this project to be a conversation starter. I want to interact. Ask questions. I will endeavour to answer them. You never know, the wider YouTube audience might answer them as well. Everyone comments on other people's comments. It's sharing, and share is what I would like to do. I would like to share the process of this locomotive being restored with the world. I'm sharing the love with Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway, who have got me restoring this engine for them. And yeah, the process is good. It's going to be a learning experience for you, for me, for everybody. So more of the same. And on that bombshell, I'm going to call it a day here. It's been a long day. I've been at this about 10 hours, so it's time for a beer and a rest, switch off, and hopefully get a good night's sleep. This really has been a lot of work getting this video done. I've been putting it off for a while. I've attacked it a couple of times, and I think I might have got it in one piece today, and I'll be happy with that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.